Beyond the Gates spoilers tease that June's encounter with Dr. Nicole Dupree Richardson unravels a web of intrigue so delightfully layered that dedicated soap aficionados will shiver with recognition. From the moment June first appears on screen, she is woven into the shared tapestry of Jacob and his wife, Naomi. The three meet through difficult circumstances. June has been detained for assaulting a social worker investigating Tent City for illicit substances. Jacob and Naomi, ever compassionate, take her under their wing despite her initial resistance. The pregnant Naomi brings gentle kindness. Jacob, hardened by past tragedy, offers practical help. Yet June's stubborn pride keeps her from fully accepting aid, an act that stirs both sympathy and frustration in viewers. Their fragile alliance is tested when June's health falters. A sudden collapse sends her to the hospital for urgent surgery. In the antiseptic corridors, Naomi's concern deepens into fear. She knows June's mind is as fragile as her body, and she resolves to find guidance beyond medical charts and treatment regimens. Enter Dr. Nicole Dupree Richardson, a celebrated psychiatrist known for her compassionate yet incisive approach to trauma survivors, and for being an actress whose face many soap fans will recognize from earlier daytime dramas. When June meets Nicole in her warmly appointed office, the air crackles with tension. Nicole greets her with a calm warmth that belies her probing intelligence. She begins with disarming small talk, commenting, almost whimsically, that June is no longer a popular name and asking if she was born in June. The question, simple on its surface, carries the weight of hidden identities. Under the soft glow of a Tiffany lamp, June falters and admits, "That isn't my real name. I'm actually Jessia Griffin." She clarifies that Griffin was her maiden name, spoken with neither pride nor shame, but with palpable relief at finally calling herself by her true identity. Nicole leans forward, pen poised over her notepad. When she asks about June's husband, a shadow crosses June's face. She speaks of abandonment, tears glimmering. "He left me," she whispers. Nicole nods empathetically but undeterred, inviting Jessia to elaborate. The story that unfolds is heartbreakingly familiar. Jessia met Duncan when his first wife embarked on what was thought to be a humanitarian mission to a distant continent, only to perish under mysterious circumstances. Jessia had nursed him through grief, watched him crumble, and offered steady companionship. Their friendship blossomed into love. They married and soon welcomed a daughter, Bonnie, now grown and pursuing a career in law much like Naomi herself. Jessia sighs at the mention of Bonnie. "I haven't seen her or heard from her in years," she admits, embarrassment and sorrow entwining in her gaze. Naomi, listening silently from the adjoining couch, feels a kinship of pain. It is the kind of revelation that transforms compassion into resolve. Naomi vows, silently, to restore the mother-daughter bond. Nicole, ever perceptive, narrows her eyes in playful scrutiny. "And your marriage, what happened there?" she gently probes. Jessica's lips tighten. "Duncan, he went back to his wife," she states flatly. Naomi gasps. Jacob's fists clench at his sides. "But you told me she was dead," he reminds Jessia, disbelief coloring his voice. Jessica's face reddens. "That's what all of us believed," she murmurs, voice fragile. "But she was in prison, and she escaped." Nicole's knowing smile is almost wicked in its satisfaction. Jessia elaborates. Shannon, Duncan's first wife, had been incarcerated. Until the day she simply vanished from the maximum security facility. "They think she's lost her mind," Jessia adds, eyes downcast. "No one knows where she went or what condition she's in." Nicole cackles softly, the sound jarring in the hushed room. She corrects a curious Naomi and Jacob with uncanny detail. "His name is Duncan, and his ex is Shannon," then leans back as if revealing the punchline to a well-crafted joke. June, mortified, can only nod. Nicole has guessed everything correctly. But it is what she says next that electrifies the scene. In the hospital, we sometimes see what the patient does. And you, Duncan and Jessica, are the public's long-lost couple from As the World Turns. The implications hang in the air, a metatextual Easter egg acknowledging the shared soap opera universe. Nicole muses, "I always thought Jessica resembled Mama," a sly nod to her on-screen mother Anita Dupree, originally portrayed by Tamara Tooney. A wink to viewers who remember that Tamara once played Jessia Griffin on 8DWT. The camera lingers on June's stunned expression. Her story, once so private, is laid bare by a psychiatrist who knows more than any hospital file. Naomi and Jacob, blindsided, exchange odd looks. For them, the revelation is more than trivia. It reframes June's entire narrative, transforming her from a mysterious stranger into a figure deeply embedded in the soap opera pantheon. The seeds of trust, planted in their earlier interactions, now blossom into full trust as they realize that their efforts to help June are also an homage to the beloved characters who came before. Yet the question remains, what of Shannon, the escaped first wife? And what will Jessica June do now that her past has caught up with her? As we move into the next act, the stakes rise. Jessica's identity, Duncan's fate, Bonnie's absence, all converge to form a conflict that tests loyalties, unearths buried memories, and vows to keep viewers on the edge of their seats. The hospital's fluorescent lights hum overhead as Jessica grapples with the shock of Nicole's revelation. Naomi squeezes her hand, her unspoken promise to help shining in her eyes. Jacob stands guard at the door, silent sentinel to this intimate confessional. Jessica's voice trembles as she recounts how, after Shannon's escape, rumors circulated of a woman seen wandering near Tent City, gaunt, disoriented, clutching a mailing list addressed to Duncan. Could Shannon be the one who led the social worker into danger? Jessica hesitates, then nods slowly. She must have done something, I don't know what. But she ended up in Tent City. Her confession prompts Naomi to promise action. We'll find her, she vows. We'll bring her back, safe or not. In that moment, a new alliance forms. Jessica, Naomi, and Jacob bound by more than charity. They share a mission. Meanwhile, news of Shannon's escape has spread through the hospital, stirring unease among staff and patients. Dr. Erica Kane arrives to consult on Jessica's case, her reputation for tenacity preceding her into the ward. Kane's sharp inquiries push Jessica to the brink, but before the session ends, Kane shares a tantalizing lead. A nurse spotted Shannon boarding a bus bound for Maryland. Jessica's heart pounds. Shannon might have tracked Duncan through the sprawling suburbs where he now lives with Naomi and Jacob. The plot thickens. If Shannon reaches Duncan first, what horrors might await? Back in Tent City, the social worker lies recuperating, nursing not only physical wounds, but also a sense of betrayal. She recalls how Jessie had attacked her, yet at no point did she seem malicious, rather, panicked. Jessica's déjà vu compels her to retrace her steps, leaving the hospital in a wheelchair-bound vigilante act. Naomi and Jacob accompany her, forming a protective escort through the makeshift streets of Tent City's tents and trailers. Suspense mounts at each turn, a clatter of metal, a whispered warning, a silhouette in the dusk. And finally, beneath a flickering lamp, they find her, Shannon, gaunt and unsteady, staring with wild eyes at the faces of strangers. Shannon's mind fracture is evident, the years of incarceration and the trauma of her lost life etched in every tremor of her body. She speaks in disjointed fragments, names, dates, accusations. Duncan's name seems to bring both sorrow and rage. Naomi kneels to meet Shannon's gaze, offering gentle words, "You're safe now. We want to help you find your way home." Shannon's confusion mingles with recognition, and she reaches out, tears welling. In that moment, Jessica steps forward, her own tears spilling. "I'm Jessica," she says softly. "We were friends. I loved your husband. But I'm here now to help you." The reconciliation scene is suffused with raw emotion, the three women bound by love, loss, and the labyrinth of soap opera fate. Shannon's return threatens to upend Jessica's life, but as they embrace, it becomes clear that redemption lies in forgiveness. Jessica realizes that her role was never to replace Shannon, but to fill a void until the rightful wife returned. The moment is bittersweet. Naomi, who had grown to love Jessica like family, understands that her true place is at Jessica's side, not as a surrogate wife, but as a lifelong friend. As the dust settles, attention turns to Bonnie. A call from Jessica's daughter arrives, her voice calm yet laced with hurt. She demands answers. Why did her mother vanish? Why was she silent for so long? Jessica pleads for understanding, promising to explain everything. Bonnie's voice softens, acknowledgement of a bond stretched but unbroken. The promise of a mother-daughter reunion looms as the next epic installment. Finally, the camera cuts back to Jacob and Naomi, weary but triumphant. Together they have navigated hospital politics, fugitive wives, and fractured memories. Their kindness to Jessica has been repaid tenfold, forging an unexpected friendship that will shape the paths of all involved. As they walk down the hospital corridor, Naomi's hand rests on Jacob's arm. "We did good," she says quietly. He nods, but his gaze drifts back to Jessica's room, where Jessica and Shannon sit in quiet conversation. "We did more than good," he replies. "We saved a family." Beyond the Gates has always been a story of survival, of those on society's fringes, fighting for dignity and connection. But in this Easter egg-laden arc, it honors the heritage of daytime drama, bridging worlds and reminding us that every character, every name, carries a story worth telling. With the return of Shannon, the rekindling of Jessica's true identity, and the promise of family restored, viewers are left poised on the brink of new revelations. Whose story will be next to unfold under the flickering lights of Tent City or behind the closed doors of Dr. Nicole's office? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The gates to beyond have swung wide open, and the journey ahead promises more twists, turns, and soap-soaked delights than ever before. The flicker of fluorescent light in the hospital hallway seemed to pulse with the tension of unspoken questions as Jessica and Shannon sat side by side. Outside, Naomi and Jacob exchanged furtive glances, their shoulders heavy with the burden of recent revelations. Naomi's mind raced through the evening's events, the initial shock of discovering Jessica's true identity, the frantic search through Tent City, and now the fragile reunion that held more promise and more peril than any of them had dared imagine. Inside the room, Shannon's gaunt figure trembled as spring sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting slatted shadows across her pale cheeks. She traced patterns on the floral bedspread with fragmented memories, half-images of prison bars dissolving into the warmth of Duncan's arms. Jessica watched her warily at first, uncertain whether Shannon's fractured mind would recognize the friend who had, by accident and by devotion, become her rival. But as Shannon's gaze settled on Jessica, recognition, like the slow unfolding of a bloom, bloomed in her eyes. "I remember you," Shannon whispered, voice hoarse. "You were always there, holding his hand." Jessica's throat tightened. She reached out, taking Shannon's slender fingers in her own. "I was," she said softly. "And I still will be if you'll let me." The tremor in Shannon's jaw settled into a fragile peace. She leaned into Jessica's touch, and for a heartbeat, the two women stood outside time's relentless march. Behind the door, Naomi exhaled. Jacob placed a hand on her arm. "They need us to step back," he murmured. They slipped away, leaving Jessica and Shannon to navigate the first tentative steps of reconciliation. That evening, the hospital conference room, usually reserved for clinical meetings, hosted an urgent gathering. Dr. Nicole Dupree Richardson presided, her poised demeanor belying the emotional stakes. Dr. Erica Kane tapped notes into her tablet, each keystroke echoing the urgency of the situation. Naomi, guilt and hope warring in her eyes, sat beside Jacob, while Jessica and Shannon took the seats at the far end, still trembling from their encounter. Nicole began, "Our immediate priority is Shannon's mental health. She's endured solitary confinement, the trauma of escape, and now the disorientation of freedom." As she spoke, she interlaced clinical precision with genuine compassion, drawing on her psychiatric expertise to propose a phased plan: memory reintegration therapy, controlled exposure to familiar environments, and, most critically, family-centered support sessions. Dr. Kane added, "We'll need to monitor her for signs of post-traumatic stress disorder or dissociative episodes. And Jessica, it's crucial that you prepare for the emotional toll of these sessions. You are Shannon's closest friend, her tether to the world outside those walls. But you're also a reminder of the life she lost." Jessica's hands clenched. "I know," she said quietly, "but I have to try." Naomi reached across the table, placing a steadying hand on Jessica's. "We'll all try," she pledged. "Jacob, you too." Jacob nodded, voice gruff but earnest. "We started this together. We won't leave you." As plans were made and roles assigned, Shannon's eyes drifted around the room, settling on Naomi. "You're his wife," she murmured. Naomi inclined her head, uncertain of what to say. Shannon swallowed, voice trembling with curiosity and a lingering edge of jealousy. "Why did you help her?" "Why help me?" Naomi hesitated, then spoke from her heart. "Because no one deserves to be alone in their pain. We saw you both as people, broken, scared, fighting to survive. That's enough reason to help." Shannon's gaze softened. I don't remember much, but I remember kindness." A hush fell. Even the hum of the air conditioning seemed to pause in reverence. Days later, Jacob escorted Duncan, leaning on a cane, still recovering from complications of hospital surgery, into Jessica's room. Shannon's eyes lit at the sight of her husband, but the moment held both joy and trepidation. Duncan's face, gaunt yet warm, bore the lines of grief and gratitude. He reached out to embrace Shannon. She recoiled, confusion flickering in her eyes. Jessica stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Duncan, she's scared," she whispered. His reply was a soft murmur, "I know." In the days that followed, the small hospital room became a sanctuary of tentative hope. Bonnie arrived in Baltimore. Conflict written across her attorney's face as she stepped into the frenetic hospital corridor. She paused outside the room, gathering her composure, then entered to find three figures: her mother, her father, and the woman she'd never known, but whose name resonated like whispered legend. Bonnie's voice cracked at first, then steadied. "You left me." Jessica's tears glistened as she knelt. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I thought you'd be safer away. I never meant to disappear." Bonnie's eyes brimmed with anger and relief. "You did disappear," she said. "But I needed you to be brave enough to come back." It was a quiet reckoning, the kind that reshapes relationships. As they embraced, the years of distance contracted into this single moment of forgiveness. Outside the hospital, Tent City's tents and trailers lay silent beneath a cerulean sky. Naomi and Jacob stood on the edge of the temporary community, watching volunteers distribute meals. Naomi's hand found Jacob's. "We change things here," she said softly. Jacob nodded, eyes lingering on a young mother cradling her baby. Helping Jessica led to helping many others. Naomi smiled, thinking of how far Jessica had come from a frightened woman in handcuffs to the linchpin of healing for a fractured family. Back in her office, Dr. Nicole updated her notes. She reflected on the extraordinary convergence of fates: the escaped prisoner, the devoted friend, the compassionate strangers who became family. Her mind drifted briefly to her own past, the unacknowledged Easter eggs of her soap history, the shared legacy that bound performers and characters across decades. She tapped her pen, a small smile curving her lips. "Sometimes," she wrote, "the greatest therapy is remembering who we once were. And who we can become." As dusk fell over Baltimore, the characters at the heart of this drama found themselves on new ground. Jessica and Shannon prepared for joint therapy sessions, forging a fresh bond. Duncan, limping but resolute, envisioned a future rebuilt on trust. Bonnie, at her mother's side, committed to helping Shannon's reintegration as an advocate. Naomi and Jacob, forever intertwined with their unexpected charge, looked ahead to community outreach in Tent City, sharing resources and extending the compassion that began as aid for one woman. In the quiet moments before night fully descended, Jessica stood at the window of her hospital room. She watched as the glow of streetlights danced on the darkened pavement. By her side, Shannon placed a tentative hand on her shoulder. Jessica turned, finding in Shannon's eyes not hostility but gratitude. "Thank you," Shannon whispered. Jessica squeezed her hand. "We're home." And in that shared embrace, the echoes of past lives. Of prison cells and courtroom battles, of angry confrontations and whispered confessions, faded into a single, clear truth. Healing is never linear, but when compassion leads the way, it lights the path beyond even the most formidable gates.